There is one East Coast town where homes now sit on the market for over 120 days. Another where condo values dropped almost 13% in a single year. A third where homes are literally collapsing into the Atlantic Ocean, while the insurance program that was supposed to protect the owners sits frozen. And it is not just Florida anymore. From coastal North Carolina through the Carolina Lowcountry, across Georgia, and down into the Gulf Corridor, the same pattern is repeating. Towns that were bidding war zones 2 years ago now sit unsold long enough to collect dust on the lockbox. Condo buildings that once had waiting lists are mailing six-figure assessment letters like overdue parking tickets. In this countdown, we are breaking down 10 East Coast towns where Americans have quietly stopped buying homes. Specific places, specific numbers, and the one structural reason underneath all of them. Number 10. Savannah, Georgia. The historic port city where the charm still works, but the math stopped adding up. Savannah was one of the pandemic's quiet winners. Affordable compared to Charleston, walkable, photogenic, and close enough to the coast to draw remote workers and retirees who wanted character without the California price tag. Median home prices climbed roughly 35% between 2020 and 2022. Then the rate hikes arrived. The Savannah Metro median home price sits around $320,000 according to Zillow. Active inventory has climbed roughly 15% year over year. Days on market have pushed past 60. About 16% of listings now carry a price cut per Realtor.com. Buying in Savannah today is like arriving at a restaurant everyone raved about last year, only to find half the tables empty and the host relieved to see you. Savannah is not failing because the city lost its appeal. It is failing because the buyers who drove the boom were never planning to stay at these prices. Number 9. Wilmington, North Carolina. The coastal market that looks healthy on paper until you see the number the listing never shows you. Wilmington rode the pandemic migration wave like the rest of the southeast coast. Remote workers and retirees arrived for the beaches, the mild winters, and the proximity to the Research Triangle. Home values climbed over 30% in 5 years. But the real story is under the surface. Property IQ scored Wilmington 28 out of 100 in 2026, the weakest major market in North Carolina. A Wilmington buyer needs to earn 74% more than the metro median household income just to afford the median listing. Days on market have doubled, now sitting past 70. Sale-to-list ratio has dropped to 95.8%, and 65% of properties face extreme wind risk over the next 30 years per Redfin. Then there is insurance. North Carolina homeowners face a cumulative 15% rate increase across 2025 and 2026. Nationwide dropped 10,000 customers in hurricane-prone coastal zip codes of North Carolina in 2024. Wilmington homeowners now pay $5,000 to $8,500 a year for full protection. Wilmington is not failing because it stopped being beautiful. It is failing because the price outran the paycheck and the insurance caught up to the geography. Number 8. The Outer Banks, North Carolina. The barrier island paradise, where homes are no longer falling in value. They are falling into the ocean. This is not a metaphor. Since 2024, 27 homes along the Outer Banks have physically collapsed into the Atlantic, 16 of them since September of 2025 alone. Homes that were hundreds of feet from the shoreline when they were built are now at the water's edge, and the erosion is accelerating. But the collapse is not just physical, it is financial. Coastal North Carolina property owners carry a 3-policy insurance stack: standard homeowners covering everything except wind, a separate beach plan policy covering wind and hail, and a third policy through the National Flood Insurance Program covering flood. The combined annual cost can run $15,000 to $25,000 before the mortgage payment. Wind deductibles in coastal areas now commonly sit at 5% of dwelling value. On a $400,000 home, that is $20,000 out of pocket before a single claim dollar is paid. And the State Rate Bureau has proposed a 75% premium increase on rental property, wind and hail coverage. One couple bought a cottage in Buxton for $495,000 in May. By September, the foundation was damaged. They tried to update their flood policy, but the program was frozen. The Outer Banks is not failing because people stopped wanting to live by the ocean. It is failing because the ocean stopped waiting for them to decide. Number 7. Hilton Head, South Carolina. The luxury retirement corridor where buyers stopped rushing and started waiting. Hilton Head was the gold standard of lowcountry retirement living. Sea pines, palmetto dunes, championship golf, barrier island charm, and a tax structure retirees love. During the pandemic, The island drew a wave of cash buyers from the Northeast and Midwest who paid over asking without blinking. Then the urgency disappeared. Days on market have surged 111% to 146 days. Sellers are now capturing just 95 to 96% of list price, down from over 97% during the boom. Inventory has climbed 18% year over year. Closed sales dipped 7.5% even as prices held. Hilton Head has not crashed. Prices are still up about 2.7% per Zillow, but the velocity has collapsed. Homes that once sold in a weekend now sit for nearly 5 months. Hilton Head is not failing because the island lost its appeal. It is failing because the buyers realize they have leverage for the first time in years, and they are using it. Number 6. Charleston, South Carolina. The Lowcountry jewel where buyers used to waive inspections, and now they are waving goodbye. Charleston spent the pandemic as the Southeast's darling. Historic architecture, booming tech sector, coastal living without the Florida insurance nightmare. Prices climbed roughly 45% between 2020 and 2022 per Zillow. Then affordability hit a wall. The Charleston Trident median sales price slipped to $433,000 in April 2026, down 1.6% year over year per the local MLS. Days on market climbed to 51 days. Inventory rose to over 5,300 listings. About 23% carry a price cut. Picture this. You walk into an open house in Somerville. The builder next door is offering a rate buy-down, closing credits, and free appliance upgrades. The resale seller is still asking 2022 prices. The builder wins, the seller relists. Charleston is not failing because the charm disappeared. It is failing because the buyers stopped confusing urgency with value. Number 5. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The Grand Strand vacation corridor, where condos are now sitting longer than the average beach rental. Myrtle Beach rode the pandemic wave hard. Retirees, second home buyers, and short-term rental investors all flooded in. Prices spiked. Builders broke ground on every available lot. Then the tide went out. The Myrtle Beach median home price is around $303,000, down roughly 4.9% year over year per Hoseo. Inventory has surged 36.6%. Months of supply have climbed to 9.4, nearly double the balanced threshold. Days on market have reached 124. 79% of all listings carry a price cut. And here is the number that tells the whole story. Only about half of the single-family homes that get listed actually end up selling. The condo market is worse. Condo prices dropped 12.9% year over year per the South Carolina Association of Realtors. The average condo listing receives just 2.2 showings during its entire time on market. Buying a Myrtle Beach condo today is like buying a timeshare nobody warned you was a timeshare. Myrtle Beach is not failing because tourists stopped coming. It is failing because the owners who bought as investments discovered the carrying costs, eat the returns. Number 4. Daytona Beach, Florida. The Atlantic Coast Retirement Corridor, where values spiked 50% in 2 years and are now giving it back. Daytona Beach was the affordable alternative to South Florida for retirees who wanted sun without the 7-figure price tag. During the pandemic, median home values climbed roughly 50% per Zillow. Then rate hikes and insurance increases arrived at the same time. The Daytona Beach Metro median home price hovers around $285,000, down roughly 3% year over year. Days on market have pushed past 70. About 21% of listings carry a price cut per Redfin. The real story is insurance. Volusia County sits in the Atlantic Hurricane Corridor, and premiums for older homes have doubled in some zip codes since 2022. Deals are collapsing at the underwriting stage before buyers ever reach the closing table. Buying in Daytona Beach today is like finding a discounted hotel room and then discovering the resort fee costs more than the room. Daytona Beach is not failing because the beach got smaller. It is failing because the true cost of ownership finally showed up on the closing disclosure. Number 3. Miami Beach, Florida. The address every Florida real estate ad has used for 40 years, where condos sit empty for half the year, and special assessments now outpace rental income. Miami Beach is the architectural museum of the post-Surfside era. Older oceanfront towers built in the 1960s and 70s face mandatory structural inspections under Florida's updated building safety law. The results are arriving as 6-figure assessment letters. The Miami Beach median condo price hovers around $650,000, down roughly 9% year over year per Redfin. Condo inventory has climbed past 16 months of supply. The broader Miami metro is down 4.5% per Zillow. Special assessments on aging buildings range from $40,000 to over $150,000 per unit. Statewide structural reserve laws keep adding line items to monthly HOA bills. Picture this. You are under contract on a 2-bedroom in a 1970s tower overlooking the ocean. Closing in 3 weeks. The HOA sends a letter. Special assessment for structural reserves, $92,000 due within 90 days. Then a second letter. Concrete restoration, another $40,000. You walk. 6 other buyers walked from the same building this month. Miami Beach is not failing because the ocean got smaller. It is failing because the buildings got older, and the true cost of maintaining them can no longer hide in the fine print. Number 2. North Port and Sarasota, Florida. The Gulf Coast corridor that was the fastest growing region in America and is now the fastest correcting. North Port was the fastest growing city in America by population in 2022. Builders flooded in. Prices climbed roughly 60% in 3 years. Out-of-state buyers paid cash, sight unseen. Then Hurricane Ian made landfall in Charlotte County in September 2022, and the insurance market for the entire Southwest Florida corridor never recovered. The North Port-Sarasota metro median home price is around $410,000, down roughly 8% from peak per Redfin. Condo inventory in Sarasota County has climbed past 14 months of supply, more than double the balanced market threshold. Days on market have passed 90. Roughly 24% of listings carry a price cut. Insurance premiums for older homes have tripled in some zip codes since the storm. Picture this. You drive through a quiet North Port subdivision 2 years after Ian. 3 out of every 5 houses on one block have for sale signs. 2 still show hurricane shutter scars on the trim. The asking prices keep dropping because the insurance quotes do not. North Port is not failing because the homes got worse. It is failing because the storm rewrote the math and nobody has figured out the new equation. Number 1. Cape Coral, Florida. The Gulf Coast town that just became the worst performing major housing market in America. Cape Coral spent the pandemic as the headline migration story. Big lots, Gulf access, 400 miles of canals, no state income tax. Builders broke ground on thousands of new homes. Out-of-state buyers paid over asking sight unseen. Then Hurricane Ian made landfall in 2022, and the math broke in every direction at once. The Cape Coral median home price is around $375,000, down 9.6% year over year per Redfin, the steepest annual drop of any major metro in the United States. Inventory has more than tripled from 2021 levels. About 31% of listings carry a price cut. Days on market have passed 120. Insurance premiums for older homes have hit $8,000 to $12,000 annually. Foreclosure filings in Lee County have climbed roughly 30% year over year to over 4,000 in the most recent period, the highest in roughly a decade. One homeowner posted online. Bought in 2022 for $480,000, just appraised at $410,000. Insurance went from $2,200 to $9,000. Stuck. Picture this. You drive through a Cape Coral Canal neighborhood that was a bidding war zone in 2021. Today, every 5th house has a for sale sign. Half have been listed more than 90 days. A neighbor walks over and asks if you are a buyer. When you say yes, his face changes because his house is also for sale, and he is hoping you will look at it next. Cape Coral is not failing because one thing broke. It is failing because everything broke at the same time, and the buyers walked away first. So there it is. 10 East Coast towns from Savannah to Cape Coral, where the for sale signs have stopped being temporary and started becoming a structural feature of the neighborhood. The thread that ties them all together is the same. The East Coast housing boom from 2020 to 2022 was built on assumptions that no longer exist. Cheap insurance, steady in-migration, low interest rates, stable coastlines. Every one of those broke. The towns still rising on the East Coast in 2026 are the ones that never inflated. Buyers are not on strike. They are running the math, reading the closing disclosure, and walking away when the numbers no longer agree. If your town made this list, drop a comment with the zip code and tell me what you are seeing. And if you would rather know the real numbers than read the highlight reel, subscribe now.